It's good morning, as yes, we're in the same time. So good morning, and thank you so much for having me here. My name is Nobelin Chirabo. I am based in Kampala, Uganda. I am born and raised in Uganda as well. I am a family therapist by training and a social entrepreneur by passion. So my life juggles between um, a lot of the times it's within the social entrepreneurship space now. And for the last 6 years, I've focused on personal and business development coaching. And I'm very passionate about unlocking potential in people. Growing up, I never anticipated that I would work with women because when I was growing up, I was a tomboy. And so I grew up with this notion of women are very emotional, they're too much work, they're very edgy, very sensitive. And so literally growing up, I hung around the boys for the biggest part of my childhood. And flipping it into my adult life, here I am working with women today. I am very passionate about women. In the social enterprise, we do work with young people, marginalized youth who are out of school. We work in urban slums, rural areas, and refugee camps, and empowering young people to become financially independent by turning their passions into profitable businesses. And then on the other side of my life, I do work with young adult women. When I was growing up, like I said, I was a tomboy, and oftentimes I was mentored by men. And one of my frustrations is, why can't I find a female mentor? That was my pain. And so as an adult, I decided I'll be that mentor and also empower other women to become mentors. So I do run a mentoring program for young adult women that are called to influence in the marketplace, that are passionate about taking their position in the marketplace. And like Donna was saying, it takes a lot of courage for women to actually show up in the marketplace. And there's a notion in Uganda and probably many other countries that says when a woman has 80% qualification and there's a job opportunity, they're going to disqualify themselves because they have 80% of the qualifications. And on the flip side, when a man has 50% qualifications, they're actually going to apply and show up. And so for me, that's been my drive, that's been my desire to unlock potential for women, to enable them thrive in their different roles. And in working with women, one of the things that has stood out for me or always fascinated me is how women tend to wrap themselves around their roles. A simple example that I like to use oftentimes when we are asked to introduce ourselves, and maybe that's how you introduce yourself. Oftentimes when you ask women to introduce themselves, they're going to tell you, maybe I'm a lawyer, I am married, and I have 3 children, and I do this and I do that. And at the end of the day, I'm looking at you like, I know what you do, but who are you? So the question of who are you is something that many of us as women struggle with, trying to identify who am I as a person. And I'd like to pose this question for you. If somebody was to ask you, who are you? And oftentimes our notion is to define ourselves by what we do, your marital status, your social status, the different responsibilities you have, maybe your academic titles. But I'd like to flip this question and ask it again and say, who are you without your job title, your academic qualifications, your family roles, and your leadership responsibilities? Who are you minus all these things? If I asked you to tell me about yourself without telling me your current job, without telling me about your academic qualifications, without telling me about your family roles or your leadership responsibilities, who are you? I have had these conversations with several women, and oftentimes most of the women freeze, because once they are stripped of their roles, once they are stripped of their responsibilities, once they are stripped of what they know and have come to define themselves by, then they don't know what else remains. And that is the danger in defining ourselves by our roles and our responsibilities. And so today, I'd just like to affirm the fact that you are more than your roles. You are more than your responsibility. The danger in wrapping your life, in wrapping your identity, in wrapping your purpose around your roles is that the day you wake up and the roles you have been so accustomed to are stripped away from you, you are going to be so destabilized because you won't know who you are. If, for example, you identify yourself as a mother, you identify yourself as a wife, the day something happens and those roles are taken away from you, a lot of times, coming from a psychological perspective, women struggle to heal, because in that moment there's a sense of not just loss and grief, but there's a sense of disillusionment where you don't know who you are. So I'd like to pause again and just let it sink for you to ask yourself, who are you without your job title, without your academic qualifications, without your family roles or leadership responsibilities? Because at the end of the day, that is what remains. That is who you really, really are. And for us to understand who are we without all these things, we come down to these three dimensions. When we ask, who are you as a person? I'm not asking about what you do. I'm not asking about where you live. I'm not asking about your marital status. I'm not asking about the different roles and responsibilities you play in society. I'm asking about your personality. I'm asking about your passion. I am asking about your mission. Because at the end of the day, no matter where we take you, if we got you from your country, if we got you from your familiar zone and took you to a totally different country, in a new place you have never been, this is what remains with you everywhere and all the time. Having grown up in Uganda, we have been raised to think of ourselves in light of academic qualifications, in light of our family status, in light of the things we have or we don't have. But at the end of the day, this is who we are. So learning as adults to begin to look inward and begin to rediscover our sense of identity. And as women, Dana was saying, we take care of everybody else. However, you cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot nurture what you don't know. So as nurturers, we are givers of life. That's how we have been created. We are nurturers, we are givers of life. It's within us. And for us to thrive in these roles and responsibilities, we need to understand ourselves. I believe that the roles and responsibilities we play don't define us. However, we should define them. The question should be, who is Nobeline? And then, who is Nobeline as a mother? Who is Nobeline as an executive director? Who is Nobeline as a coach? Who is Nobeline as a daughter? Who is Nobeline as a friend? Who is Nobeline in the different facets of life? Because that is how I'm supposed to see myself. It is me who defines the things that I do. So when we think about personality, personality will embody your character, the common traits and your cultural beliefs. Basically, your persona. And it's so easy. Thanks to technology, you can do a personality test that will give you a deeper understanding of yourself. Because your personality is innate, it's eternal, it's who you are in every season of life. The other critical area for us to understand is our passion. Passion, I don't know about other countries, but in Uganda it's not something we talk about a lot. It's a topic that we are beginning to introduce. And talking about, what do you really care about as a person? And I like to ask the question, if you had all the time and the money in the world, what would you spend your time doing? Because that's where passion is. The things you truly care about, the things you're interested in, your commitments. Because passion gives you the drive and the motivation, and oftentimes our why is embedded in the things we're passionate about. And then the last thing is about purpose. Having a vision and a mission for your life, and the values that help you to articulate yourself. Ladies, I would like to affirm that the combination of these three things is what defines you as a person. Finding your true self, finding your authentic self is at the intersection of these three things. Your passions or pains, your personality, and your vision and values. I believe that your vision and values should be your true north that guides every decision you make in life. The reason you leave this job for another job or stay in this job should be guided by your true north. Is it aligned with your purpose? Is it aligned with your vision? Is it aligned with your values? So the next time somebody asks you, who are you? Remember, you are a total sum of these three things, not your roles and not your definition. And the last slide I would like to share with us is in understanding personality. Because oftentimes when we talk about who we are, we think about our external makeup. But when we analyze personality, there are two dimensions of who you are. There's what we call the external dimension and the internal dimension. And I like to use the idea of the iceberg. The iceberg is a water mass, is a mass of ice within a water body. And when you are a sailor and you are approaching an iceberg, what you normally see is what is above the water. Before people understood the analogy of icebergs, a lot of ships would get shipwrecked because they would try to navigate the tip of the iceberg they're seeing above the water, forgetting that there's a whole large mass that is down. And oftentimes what is beneath is bigger than what is on the top. The same thing is true with our personalities. It's true with our character. What we see of you, your conduct, your conversation, your character is what we see, we hear, and experience when interacting with you. And so when people ask us about you, we're going to define you by your external characters. However, as a person, to get a deeper understanding of who you are, you need to dig into your internal character. And this is shaped by your core values, your ideologies, and your beliefs. And this is basically could be summarized into intuition, intellect, and instinct. These are very innate and very personal. Your core values could be influenced by your condition. However, they are very innate to who you are. I have worked in the HR space, and sometimes when we ask people about their values, they tell us all these beautiful ideologies, integrity, hard work, and I don't know what. That's not your values. There's what I call the ideal values and the innate values. We all have ideal values. Ideal values is who you want to be, is what you want to be seen as, because it feels good. Now, the innate values is how you respond to situations. I believe that the way we respond to situations, oftentimes we are not responding to a situation. We are responding to a violation of your personal values. And so understanding yourself is going to require you to take a deeper look into your inner self and understand, what are my core values? What are my ideologies about life? What are my belief systems that basically shape who I am as a person? Because at the end of the day, what you do, your roles and responsibilities, are only a manifestation of your internal personality. Thinking deeply about where you want to go. One of the things we have as women is that we are mothers, we are nurturers, we bring life. And for me, that I take it as a very serious responsibility. I cannot nurture the next generation of women if I don't understand me. So for us to begin to create a ripple effect of the women we want to see in our communities, of the mothers, the children, the executives, the women in the marketplace, it's going to begin with us understanding who we are and helping our girls, helping our women to embrace who they are so that they can begin to thrive. So beyond the roles, beyond the responsibilities, who are you? Because when you find you, then you're able to bring your greatest gift to the world.